The time is 8:10. Today's parents did not grow up with the environment that surrounds their children, the devices and the content, which ranges from the useful and entertaining, sometimes educational, to the distracting and the harmful. This morning there is new guidance for schools in England recommending that all set up a mobile phone-free environment, although it seems many, if not most, already do that. Esther Jai, mother of the murdered teenager Brianna Jai, has spoken about banning smartphones for under 16s, and she told us last week she doesn't think the new online safety law will protect young people.
I don't think the online safety bill is enough. The internet and social media is so vast, I think it will be so hard to police. And then the second point is as well that comments and free speech, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for free speech, but some of the comments that I've seen on social media posts, they're just hateful comments. The online safety bill isn't going to protect children and young people from seeing that kind of horrible content, because I don't think that will be deemed as harmful.
Esther Jai speaking to us last week, and Gillian Keegan, the Education Secretary, joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle.
Let us start with the position in schools. There are more than 24,000 schools in England. How many do you think don't restrict mobile phone use in some way?
Well, the information we got is a little out of date, but it's about half last time we did a survey. About half of them did restrict and about half of them didn't. It could be a few more that do now. But one of the things we want also, Michelle, is consistency. So quite a few of those that do ban mobile phone use do allow use in lunch times or in break times. And what we want to see is consistency across the whole of the country, that phones will not be used at all during the school day. So not during break times and not during lunch times either. So that children can focus on socialising and building up those friendships and relationships that we all did in school and everybody else massively benefits from for the whole of their lives.
It's interesting, your assessment of the scale of the problem. So you think half of schools don't restrict mobile phone use in any way?
Well, the latest data, which is a bit out of date, showed that about just under half had restricted it and just over half had not. And that may change now, but we do know that it's not consistent throughout schools. We do know that schools, we asked head teachers, would this be useful? Because obviously we don't want to put guidance out if it's not useful to head teachers. And they said, absolutely. It would empower those that haven't done it. It would send a clear message about consistency. And most importantly, for those schools who've already implemented some kind of a ban, which many other countries have as well, it would say it is throughout the school day. So no getting your phone back in lunch times or in break times. It is throughout the school day. Okay. So that's sort of changing the social norm, which is you go to school, you go to learn, you go to create those friendships, you go to speak to people and socialise, and you go to get educated. You don't go to sit on your mobile phone or to send messages whilst you could actually talk to somebody.
The reason I was asking you about the data you have is that because there's other data from the Teacher Tap survey which says that almost no schools, about less than 1%, have policies which allow students to use phones whenever they like. And indeed, the head teacher we spoke to earlier said that he doesn't know of a school that has not already taken action on this. And his point is really that it's not so much about the hard devices, but it is the content on them. And indeed, that's what we've just heard from Esther Jai, her lack of confidence that your Online Safety Act is actually going to protect children and young people. And there are so many other parents who are crying out in a similar direction, saying that they want their children and young people to be protected to a much greater extent than the government has done.
Well, first of all, on the first point, as many parents will know, if you ask parents, and I think I was on the Laura Kuenssberg show, she put the opposite point to me, which is many parents still see mobile phones in the school, in the classroom. So, why isn't this ban in place? So whichever it is, this is now saying to schools, be consistent, and the mobile phone device is not to be utilised in schools. In terms of the content, obviously we do have the Online Safety Act. And I heard Esther Jai, and I also spoke to her very briefly because we were both on the Laura Kuenssberg show together. And she's been, incredibly brave and courageous, but also is going to be campaigning on this issue. And, we will follow up and discuss further with her. But the Online Safety Act has just been introduced. It's just been passed. And actually, many of the measures are being introduced in a sort of a way where they're phasing the guidance, etc. So a lot of that may not have been seen yet by parents, but it is world-leading legislation. We have gone a lot further than many, many others, and we are, taking, a very proactive step, because we do know how worrying it is for parents who don't know what their children are seeing online and do worry about their access to inappropriate content. And this is part of resetting that conversation, resetting the social norms, but also making sure that the age verification works and children don't get to see harmful content.
Do you think it is unworkable? The idea, another part of what she said, and I know you've been asked about this before, but I wonder if you think the idea of banning smartphones for under 16s is unworkable or impractical?
Well, it's not something that we have actually looked at or considered, and those conversations will take place, I think, with Esther going forward. And I know my colleague, the Secretary of State for DFIT, will be following up with some of those conversations.
You haven't looked at it yourself since she made this call?
What I've looked at is this, which is what we're talking about today, which is in schools, which I'm responsible for.
Yeah,
which is
but what do you think of the idea?
Well, I think, there's lots of good that phones do as well. Like, let's not forget that. They do also, they provide safety and peace of mind for parents. They also do provide lots of knowledge and, knowledge at your fingertips as well. So we do need, there's things that we need to make sure that we reset the social norms. We need to make sure that harmful content is not there with children. One of the things Esther mentioned there was children, nasty comments between each other, bullying and amplified bullying on social media. That is a concern, but you're not going to, change that. You need to change that by calling out that behaviour and telling children that is unacceptable and making sure that it's not there and it's not pervasive in our schools is a start to reset that conversation between teachers and children, and also parents and children, who will be empowered to say, well, you're not allowed this in school. It's obviously not good for you. It's something that you need to be cautious about. But it is something that we are going much further than many, many other countries, and we are open to doing what we can to make sure our children are protected.